Yo, what's up, guys? So it's week 13 of the NFL season. It's time to do another playoff prediction video. A lot of crazy things have happened in the few weeks since I did my last prediction video. So if you want to check that out first to see how my predictions have changed, you can check that out before this. Not too much. Well, actually, I take that back. A lot has actually changed in the last couple weeks because there's some teams that I thought that had no chance of making the playoffs that are probably going to make the playoffs. There's some teams that I thought were dominating that are not dominating anymore. So a couple things have changed, but overall, the top of the NFC and the AFC pretty much remain the same. But yeah, let's get right into it. All right, so let's begin with the AFC. So the number one seed in the AFC, I actually have been the Kansas City Chiefs, who are currently 9-2. I had them be the number two seed in my last prediction video, but ever since the Patriots blew that game against the Titans and the Chiefs, they also lost a game. They lost a game to the Rams, but that wasn't really that bad of a loss. So if I look at the Chiefs' upcoming schedule, they don't have that hard of a schedule left. Obviously, they're playing the Chargers, who are going to be a really hard opponent. They're playing the Seahawks. That's also going to be tough. But other than that, I really think that they have a chance to win out this entire season. They might drop that game against the Chargers, but top to bottom, their roster just has so much talent. Andy Reid, he's an incredible regular season coach. Let's see what they do in the playoffs. But the Chiefs, I have been the number one seed in the AFC. Number two seed in the AFC, I have been the New England Patriots. Obviously, I really wanted to put the Texans in here, but I just couldn't do it because the Patriots, they're just year after year after year, they get a first round bye somehow. They always find a way, and I do not expect that to change this year. Their only really tough game they have left is the Steelers, and other than that, they can also win out, but I think they're gonna drop a game to the Steelers. Um, but yeah, Bill Belichick obviously is an amazing coach. Tom Brady, it's very hard to bet against him. Their roster overall is not as talented as previous years, but it's still a pretty talented roster, and it's gonna get number two in the AFC. Number three in the AFC, I have been the Houston Texans. And man, I was wrong about the Houston Texans. I thought that their winning streak, when I recorded the last video, I think it was at like 5 or 6 games. Well, now it's at 8 games, and the Texans, they actually look like a good team. I thought that their winning streak was not that impressive because they didn't beat, that many good quality opponents. And to be honest, still, they haven't really gotten a true amazing victory over, a top opponent. But I mean, who cares? If you have an 8 game winning streak, that's extraordinarily impressive. To beat anybody in the NFL is very impressive. And to have an 8 game winning streak, that's very cool. And Deshaun Watson, he's been balling. Their defense has been balling. So the Texans, they're good enough to get the number three seed. And then the number four seed in the AFC, I have been the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are currently 7-3-1. They blew that game against the Broncos. Like, if they didn't blow that game, they could have probably been the number three seed, and they still can, obviously. But the Steelers, when you look at their roster, they obviously have a lot of talent. But in the last video, I thought that Le'Veon Bell was going to actually come back, and that obviously has not happened. Le'Veon Bell is not going to play this entire season. It's what a waste of a good talent because, I mean, to be honest, James Conner is doing really good, but Le'Veon Bell would have taken the Steelers team to a whole nother level. Yeah, I get that James Conner's stats are he's actually beating Le'Veon Bell in certain aspects, but the talent level of Le'Veon Bell in comparison to James Conner, Le'Veon Bell just has more talent. But forget Le'Veon Bell, he's not coming back. You look at the rest of this Pittsburgh team, their pass rush is pretty good. They have a very solid skill positions, players at every skill position. So this team is again going to be a threat in the playoffs, but it's going to be the number four seed in this conference. And let's go to the wild card. So the first wild card spot, the number five seed in the AFC, I'm giving to the Los Angeles Chargers, like I did in my last video. They're currently 8-3. They can, if they actually beat the Chiefs in their upcoming game, they could actually still potentially be the number one seed in the AFC. So don't count out the Chargers, guys. Even though nobody's been talking about them, they top to bottom, they have an extraordinary roster. Joey Bosa is back. They have playmakers on offense. They lost Melvin Gordon, I think, for the season, so that really hurts. But their backup I think he's pretty decent as well. And Phillip Rivers, as usual, has been, pretty rock solid. So the Chargers are going to be the number 5 seed. And then finally, the number 6 seed in the AFC, the final spot, is going to the Indianapolis Colts. Man, what the Indianapolis Colts have been able to do in just 1 year, it's absolutely incredible. Like, their offensive line has stunk for so many years, and now all of a sudden, Andrew Luck just cannot get sacked, which is incredible. So the Colts right now, they're 6-5, and they have a couple tough games left, but when you have a quarterback like Andrew Luck that's playing at the level he's playing at, you can't really bet against a team like that. So, and their defense has been balling lately too. So, I mean, the Colts, hats off to them, what they've been able to do. Their GM, their coach, Frank Reich, he's been an extraordinary coach after they lost out on Josh McDaniels, which that was probably for the best because I really think Frank Reich, he could be a coach of the year candidate as well. So, Colts are going to make the final spot. The teams that just missed the playoffs are going to be the Baltimore Ravens, the Titans, and the Browns. So let's talk about the Ravens. The Ravens very well could make the playoffs. Between them and the Colts, they both have very good chances of making the playoffs. But it's just the fact that I trust Andrew Luck way more than I trust Lamar Jackson / Joe Flacco. In this league, if you have a quarterback that's playing at the level that Andrew Luck is playing at, and everything else is pretty similar, obviously I'm going to pick the team with the better quarterback. So that's why I have the Ravens missing out on the playoffs. I love what Lamar Jackson is doing, but he's not an NFL-ready passer. So that's really going to hurt him. The Titans, they could also make the playoffs. They have some really good wins this season, but they've been so damn inconsistent, so I cannot pick them to make the playoffs based on that. And the Browns, man, the Browns have something special in their team. They have lost so many close games this year, and I would have really loved for them to make the playoffs, but I just don't see it happening this year because it's just that their record right now, it's going to be extremely tough to sneak in. It's possible now, but it's going to be just extremely tough. But next year, Browns fans, next year, you guys should make the playoffs. So that wraps up the AFC. Let's go to the NFC. All right, so in the NFC, I have the number 1 seed going to the Los Angeles Rams, who are currently 10-1. The Rams, to be honest, they have their flaws. Their defense has not been as advertised, nowhere close. People are saying the Rams are going to have an insane, top 3 defense. That has not been the case, but their offense has been so dynamic that it's made up for the shortcomings that they've had on defense. And, to be honest, the Rams, they have a pretty easy schedule left. The hardest game they have is going to be against the Bears in Soldier Field, which I actually have them possibly dropping that game. But their overall team is just so good that I have them being the number 1 seed because Jared Goff is again being an MVP candidate. Their defensive line is still nasty, even though their defense as a whole has not been great, their defensive line has still been amazing. So yeah, the Rams are going to be the number 1 seed. Number 2 seed is going to be the New Orleans Saints, which I had them being the number 1 seed before, but after the loss against the Cowboys, how the hell did that happen? I have them being the number 2 seed. Top to bottom, they might have the best roster in the NFL, especially with Drew Brees playing at MVP level, but it's just that I still think the Rams are going to edge out, the number 1 spot against them because the Saints, they have, a tougher schedule left. They still have to play the Steelers. They have to play, I think, the Panthers as well. So, Saints are going to be number 2. Number 3, I have being the Chicago Bears. So, the Chicago Bears, I really want to put them as the number 2 seed. And that could honestly happen because the Bears have a pretty easy schedule left. The only really hard game they have is against the Rams, which I have them potentially winning that game. And if they do, they could very well be the number 2 seed in the NFC if they get a little bit of help from the Rams and the Saints. Now the Bears, I think they're the only team in the entire NFL that has a chance, NFC, that has a chance at beating the Rams and the Saints in the playoffs. Because when you look at their defense is miles above any other defense in the NFL, in my opinion, because of their ability to score on defense. They lead the league in defensive touchdowns. They lead the league in so many defensive categories. I think interceptions as well. And when their offense is clicking as well, this team is pretty much unstoppable. So I mean, the Bears, they're definitely going to win the NFC North, in my opinion, and they're going to have a very phenomenal, end to this regular season, but look out for them in the playoffs as well. The number 4 seed in the NFC, I'm giving to the Dallas Cowboys. Man, I did not think after the loss of the Titans that the Cowboys had any chance of actually making the playoffs, but after 4 straight victories, they have proven me wrong. They're 7-5 right now. They just beat the best team in the NFL pretty much, the Saints. Or what I had before being the best team in the NFL. So that was a very impressive victory, and they have some pretty decent victories this year. And that defense, man, that's something special. They're just balling on defense. And when you have a good defense in the NFL, you can always win games and you have a better shot at making the playoffs. Dak has been very inconsistent, but if Ezekiel Elliott is, going off in the ways he's been going off, I really think that the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East, and they're going to be the number 4 seed in the NFC. The number 5 seed in the NFC, I'm giving to the Seattle Seahawks, who are currently 6-5. I had them barely missing the playoffs before, but it's just that, Russell Wilson is playing at a very high level right now. Their defense somehow has been, playing pretty good. And overall, just Pete Carroll has been doing a phenomenal job this year of coaching as well. I mean, they don't have the most talent, but the way they've been playing, they've been beating some teams that they probably should not have beat. So they're 6-5 right now. They're probably going to win a couple more games, and I have them being the number 5 seed. And finally, the number 6 seed, the final spot, I'm giving to the Carolina Panthers, who are currently 6-5. Yes, the Panthers are on a 3-game losing streak, and they have not been looking as good. But, a lot of those losses have been last-second, very close losses. And this is still a very dynamic, very good team. Cam Newton, he's still, a very good player. Christian McCaffrey has been balling the entire season. And I trust this team a little bit more than I trust the other teams, which I'm going to talk about later. So, yeah, the Panthers, number 6 seed. And that wraps up the NFC. So let's look at the teams that just missed the playoffs. I have being the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, right now, they're in a position to, make the wild card. They're in the driver's seat right now. But when you look at the Vikings season so far, they don't have a single win where you can say that, oh, that was a very good win. Like, who have they beat this entire season? Nobody good at all. The 3 games that they played against actual good teams in the NFC, they lost every single one of them to the Rams, the Saints, and the Bears. And they got blown out to the Buffalo Bills at home. And just overall, I do not trust this team at all. This was a team that was supposed to go to the Super Bowl this year. It was supposed to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, or at least close to that. And they have not lived up to expectations. I have them losing a couple more games this season and missing out on the playoffs, barely. And another team that's just going to miss out on the playoffs is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, the Eagles, I don't know what the hell happened to them this season, but they have not been the same team. Yeah, they've had a ton of injuries. They've lost their starting 4 cornerbacks, which is unfortunate for them, but they should have still been able to pull through some victories. And to lose 48-7 to the Saints, that's just pathetic. They're not going to make the playoffs. They'll come close, though, because Carson Wentz is still, a pretty good young quarterback. And their roster as a whole is very similar still to the Super Bowl roster. But they're barely going to miss the playoffs. Alright, so that wraps up my video. As always, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about my predictions. If you agree, if you disagree. Let me know which teams you have making the playoffs, which teams you have missing the playoffs, and so on. So with just a couple weeks left in the NFL season, a lot could still change based on how these games play out. But to be honest, the AFC especially, I don't see changing that much. Like the 6 teams that I have right now, I'm pretty confident that those teams are going to make the playoffs. The order might change in seeding, but I'm pretty sure those are going to be the 6 teams in the AFC. The NFC could still change a lot. The order could change a lot. The teams making the playoffs could still change a lot because, especially at the bottom for the wild card, it's a pretty close race right now. So let's see how it plays out. This season's been a lot of fun. Peace out.